Hello, welcome to Swing State News. I'm Lucas Whitty, political researcher of the battleground states. Today, we are honing in on the most competitive U.S. House districts right here in the Midwest: Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. These are the seats that could swing control of the House in the 2026 midterms, where Republicans hold a razor-thin majority and Democrats need just a handful of net gains to flip it. Let's start with the state of Michigan. Last week, I mentioned there are 3 districts alone that are tightly contested: District 7, 8, and 10. District 7 covers mid-Michigan, including parts of the Lansing and Flint area. Currently, District 7 is being represented by Republican Tom Barrett. He won this seat for the first time in the 2024 presidential election. This is the tightest district in Michigan, and it flipped in 2024. Previously, the seat had been filled by current Senator Elissa Slotkin. She represented this district from 2023 to 2025, then became a U.S. Senator. This district changed quite a bit from the previous district map. It used to include the southeastern part of Michigan, but due to Michigan's population declining, it changed based on the 2020 census. From 2013 to 2023, District 8 looked a lot more like current District 7. And that is probably why Elissa Slotkin used to represent District 8 from 2019 to 2023. And 2023, if you didn't know, is when Michigan changed its districts. Also, Michigan previously had 14 seats in the House to its current 13. Tom Barrett previously represented Michigan at a state level, serving in the State House from 2015 to 2019 and State Senate from 2019 to 2023. He first ran for U.S. House Representative in 2022 and lost to Elissa Slotkin by nearly 5.5 points. And then Tom Barrett won this spot by just under 4 points in 2024. This district could flip-flop again this midterm. It is really worth paying attention to who is on the ballot and who will be representing this district for the next 2 years. District 8 covers Saginaw, Bay City, and the Midland area. Currently, District 8 is represented by Kristen McDonald-Rivet. She won the seat for the first time in 2024, just like Tom Barrett did. She took over the seat after Daniel Kildee decided he was not seeking re-election in the 2024 race. Democrat Dan Kildee has represented Michigan since 2013 in the House, following his uncle Dale Kildee's footsteps. Democrats Dale and Dan Kildee have represented this area from 1977 to 2023, and for the most part, they have won by a large margin. There were only a few tight races during both of their careers as U.S. House Representatives. 2024 brought one of the tightest races this area has ever seen. Like we covered in another video, Kristen McDonald-Rivet previously served in the Michigan State Senate, where she won her first elected position in her political career in 2022. The reason why this district has also become tighter is because it includes a larger area than it previously did, dipping into more red counties in the Bay Area of Michigan. And from 2022 to 2024, District 8 was represented by Daniel Kildee, where he won by nearly 10.5 points. Then, in 2024, Congresswoman McDonald-Rivet won by almost 7 points, defeating the same opponent as Kildee did in 2022. This district is worth paying attention to this midterm as it becomes a tighter and tighter race over the years. District 10 covers a suburban district in the northeast Detroit metro area. Currently, District 10 is being represented by Republican John James. He won this seat for the first time in 2022. Previously, John James ran for U.S. Senate in 2018 and 2020, where he lost to Democrat Debbie Stabenow and Gary Peters. He lost to Stabenow by 6.5 points in 2018 and Gary Peters in a tighter race, where Senator Peters won by less than 2 points in 2020. District 10 today previously looked like old District 9, which was used from 2013 to 2023. District 9, during those 10 years, was incredibly blue, most times with a Democrat winning close to or more than 20 points. During those 10 years, it was represented by Democrats Sander and Andy Levin, a father-son duo. The closest election they had in those 10 years was Andy's last time running for that district. He won by 19.3 points. After redistricting, Andy ran for Michigan's new 11th district where he lost the 2022 primary to now Congresswoman Haley Stevens. There wasn't necessarily a huge ideological shift, just redistricting grabbed more portions of moderate to conservative parts of Rochester Hills, which now makes up the District 10 that we see today. From 2022 to 2024, District 10 was represented by John James, where he won by a margin of less than 1 point. And in 2024, John James won the election again by a larger margin of just over 6 points. The reason this district is one to follow, other than it has been close the past 2 elections, is John James has announced he is running for governor, which means this district has now become an open seat, which normally brings in closer races compared to an incumbent pursuing re-election. Overall, looking at these 3 districts, they all seem to have become more red. District 7 flipped from Democrat to Republican. District 8, Republicans closed the gap by nearly 2 points. And District 10 gained another nearly 2.5 points from 2022 to 2024. But all of these are worth paying attention to in the Great Lakes State. Moving on to Wisconsin, last week I mentioned there is really only one district that is really competitive, and that is District 3. District 3 of Wisconsin covers the western part of the state. Currently, District 3 is being represented by Republican Derek Van Orden. He won this seat for the first time in 2022. Previously, District 3 had been represented by Democrat Ron Kind from 1997 to 2023. Congressman Kind decided he was retiring from politics before the 2022 elections, making this district an open seat. And like we said earlier, open seats are almost always more competitive compared to having an incumbent running for re-election, which probably helped Congressman Van Orden in winning his first seat as a U.S. House representative. District 3 had changed slightly over the years, but for the most part has covered the midwestern to southwestern part of Wisconsin. In 2003, Wisconsin went from 9 House seats to 8 House seats, which made District 3 larger. However, that did not seem to change much when voting from 2004 to 2020, as Ron Kind still won this seat until he decided not to run in the 2022 election. District 3 had gone up and down a lot over the years. Ron Kind has won by upwards of 43 points, and had elections that were within 5 points. His closest election was in 2020 when he ran against your current Congressman Van Orden. In that election of 2020, Ron Kind won by 2.7 points. And 2 years later, Derek Van Orden won his seat for the first time in the 2022 midterms by nearly 4 points. And in 2024, he won again, but by a closer margin of 2.8 points. Wisconsinites, this district is worth paying attention to because it is the closest swing district in the state of Wisconsin. Now, let's talk about the districts in Pennsylvania that are competitive. Districts 7 and 8 are the most competitive races for the U.S. House in the nation. District 7 covers the Lehigh Valley region in eastern Pennsylvania. Currently, District 7 is being represented by Republican Ryan McKenzie. He won the seat for the first time in the 2024 presidential election. Previously, this district has been represented by Democrat Susan Wild. She represented this district from 2019 to 2025. She first won in the 2018 midterm by 10 points, and then in 2020 and 2022, she went up against Republican Lisa Scheller, where the races were a lot closer, 3.8 points in 2020 and just under 2 points in 2022. Then, in 2024, Congressman McKenzie won this spot over incumbent Susan Wild. This district has been competitive for a while and is one of the most competitive districts in the nation. District 7 has changed from the Montgomery area to the Lehigh, Northampton area. From what I am seeing, its district lines don't overlap from its previous district, changing its landscape entirely by redistricting and moving north. In the 2022 midterm election, Susan Wild held her seat by a slim margin of almost 2 points. Then in 2024, the seat flipped, and now Congressman McKenzie represents District 7 of Pennsylvania. This district will be a fun one to watch as it flipped in the past presidential election. It is one to pay attention to as it is one of the most competitive districts in the nation. District 8 covers the northeastern part of PA. It also covers Scranton. a town from your favorite TV show, The Office. Currently, District 8 is being represented by Republican Rob Brennahan Jr. He won the seat for the first time in 2024, flipping the seat from a Democrat to a Republican. Previously, this district was represented by Democrat Matthew Cartwright. In the previous district lines, Matthew represented District 17 and won by a margin of 7 to 21 points from 2012 to 2016. In 2018, district lines changed to what we are using currently, and he won by 10 points. In 2020, incumbent Congressman Cartwright still won, but by a closer margin of 3.5 points. And in 2022, he won by an even closer margin of 2.5 points. And in 2024, the district flipped and Rob Bresnahan defeated Matthew Cartwright in a close race and won by 1.62 points. District 8 was previously in the southeastern part of PA, and like we said before, it is now in the northeastern part of PA. This one, like District 7, flipped in the past presidential election and by a very slim margin. District 8 in PA is super competitive, and whoever wins, it will most likely be by a slim margin again. Overall, Pennsylvania has some other competitive districts, but these are the most competitive. When talking about which ones could flip the majority in the House, these two districts are the ones to pay attention to in the Keystone State. These 6 districts in the Midwest are where the House majority will most likely be decided. I am not saying that these are the only districts in the U.S. that could change control, as all 435 seats are being voted upon. But tight margins, open seats from retirements and gubernatorial runs, these are some of the most competitive districts in the nation. Here is a brief summary of the Midwest swing states. Democrats need a net gain of 3 to 5 seats in the House this midterm election. I say 3 to 5 because there are still vacancies to be filled out, and depending on how those go before the midterms, the numbers to gain can vary. Out of the 6 very competitive districts in Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, 5 representatives are Republican and 1 is a Democrat. Meaning, if Democrats were to win all competitive districts, these swing states alone could flip the House this midterm. Let me say that again. The Midwest swing states could flip the majority in the House. That is how tight this race is in the U.S. House of Representatives. So, pay attention. Pay attention to your district and cast your vote in the primaries and general election to get the best people to represent you for the 120th Congress. Thank you for watching. And if you find this information helpful or informative, I'd appreciate it if you would hit the like button and subscribe to follow along, as next week I continue to cover this topic with the southwestern and southeastern swing states. Thank you.